Hello, I'm Randy Lyman here at the Humankind Center in Sedona, Arizona, coming to you live tonight, or for those watching recording, on Wednesday the 22nd. So before we get started, I want to just take a breath, let the day go. I myself had a few challenges that I made it through this morning. Always a blessing to make it through, but also always a blessing to have those challenges and opportunity to learn and grow and to look at life from a perspective of being thankful instead of seeing the challenges as a problem. We get to see the challenges as an opportunity for growth and an opportunity to heal old wounds and see things in a more positive way. So I'll take a breath. Just let all the tension go. Let any challenges go. Know that we are exactly where we're supposed to be at exactly the right time for what is in our best good and the best good of humankind. So tonight I'm going to answer a few questions that I received from a few friends of mine over the last week. And after speaking last week, they said, well, you touched on a lot of good stuff, but we'd like a little bit of expansion on some of what you talked about. So the first question I'd like to answer is, why would I want to go on the path of emotional evolution? And I talked last time a little bit about we have the opportunity to choose to look at our challenges and evolve. How do we look at our emotional wounds? How do we look at the irritations that we have every day and find a gift in those? And we also have the opportunity to say, nope, I'm not going to feel my old emotions. I'm going to suppress whatever comes up and move on with my life without addressing my emotional challenges and without looking at that opportunity for emotional evolution. So why would I want to go on the path? Well, for me, it's all about removing the obstacles between us and love, between us and peace, between us and a better life. So much of our life is relationships, whether it's our relationship with people in our life, whether it's our relationship with our body, whether it's our relationship with money, whatever that might be. And the challenges we have with those relationships in my world and the way I see the world and the way many do is the challenges are related to how our emotions cause challenges in our relationships to bring up old pains, to bring up old emotional wounds. And so if we want to remove the challenges, for me the best way is to look at the emotional wounds and find a way to heal those old emotional wounds, because I don't want those challenges in my relationships. I don't want those challenges in my life with regards to my friends, my coworkers, people I meet in traffic who are either going to give me the right of way or ignore me, and my relationship with money. So when I'm bold enough to say, okay, I'm going to look at my life as if it is an emotional evolution to remove the challenges, then we find ways to remove those challenges. We find ways to deal with the pains that the law of attraction sees when we don't see, those old unhealed wounds. And law of attraction says, I have the obligation to help you remember those old wounds. And I am here to bring you the gift of the reminders of the old wounds. And law of attraction doesn't have a choice. It has to respond to our thoughts, our actions, and our emotions. And so when we're on this path, we have the opportunity to remove those responses, those actions, those challenges that the universe brings us through the law of attraction's response to the things we haven't felt. So for me, that's why I'm on a path for an emotional evolution, is I don't want those challenges. I want more peace. I want more of my life to be easy. I want more of my life to bring me rewards. I don't want to constantly be working through problems. So I can stop thinking about things that bring me problems. I can change my thought patterns and my reactions in my mind to be more positive. And that in itself helps to make my life a lot better, a lot easier, a lot more positive, a lot more joy, a lot more love, a lot more of the good things, a lot fewer of the bad things. But the old unhealed emotions are still going to be there, and the law of attraction is still obligated to remind us of those things. So that's the reason that that path is so important to me, to go through my emotional healing, which to me, it brings me emotional evolution. So is it the same as a spiritual journey? Well, to me, it absolutely is. To me, everything we're doing here on this planet is a spiritual journey, because the bigger part of us is spiritual. The real guiding reason, the real reason we're here is we are spiritual beings on a human path. And anything that we do, whether it's our mind focused on spiritual growth, whether we're going through healing our body by better habits, better food, taking care of ourselves, or whether it's about healing our old emotions, even if it's our ego throwing a fit, even if it's our ego having challenges, even if it's our ego, our human self, who's having a hard day or really going through emotional pain or irritations or deciding not to be spiritual in whatever that means to us, that's still part of the spiritual journey. So the spiritual journey can be looked at two ways. What is the journey that our spirit is on here on this planet to evolve? And what part of that journey helps us get closer to our spiritual self? So to me, it's all part of the spiritual journey of our soul being here removed from that love part of source energy that we are, and the challenges we have when we're removed. But it's also part of remembering that we want to be reconnected with source. We want to be reconnected with love. We want to have more of our spiritual self be available and primarily be a being of love rather than a being of fear. And all that's part of the process of being human. So the spiritual journey to me is the journey of getting back to spirit. And sometimes that's the experiences we have that take us away from love, that take us through fear, that to give us the opportunity to react in fear, to give us the opportunity to forget that we have the choice of connecting with our higher source and responding with love, and knowing that love is there to support us and asking source and love for support. So that's part of the journey, and part of the journey is saying, okay, I know I forgot, but I want to go back and remember, and I want to be connected. And I want source, God, love, to take me through my challenge and help me find a solution that works for the long term rather than just a fix that covers that up. So our spiritual journey back to source, back to love, is about emotional evolution, about choosing to see the challenges that we have as gifts, to choosing to see the problems in our life as an opportunity to remember to say, love, God, source, help me. Help me through this. Whatever way we turn to love, whether it's seeing love as angels, guides, talking to God directly, whether it's Jesus or Siddhartha or whatever it is that brings us closer to responding from a place of love and healing and letting go of the wounds and forgiving, then that's all part of our spiritual journey. And for me, again, the emotional evolution comes back to saying, okay, I don't know what to do. I need help. God, help me. Help me through this. Help me find my way back. And so if if I'm not on an emotional evolution path, or the path of emotional evolution every minute of every day, am I on the right path or am I on the wrong path? For me, there's no way to be on the wrong path. Maybe some paths are better than others, but at the same time, being on the wrong path is sometimes necessary. Because if we're not on the wrong path, then how can we know what the right path is? Without contrast between what works to bring us peace and what doesn't work and puts us in a position of more turmoil and more challenge and more pain and more suffering and anger and depression and all the different things, grief, sadness. If we don't try multiple paths, then we don't really know what works better. I believe that we can never be on the wrong path. I believe that we can never be in a place that does not have an opportunity for us to find growth. No matter how bad things ever look, there's always an opportunity to make things work. So if we're in our darkest night, where our pain, our suffering, our challenges are just so overwhelming, the moment that we say, I'm going to turn to love, and Source, God, love, help me find a solution, and that support is there immediately. And Source is just waiting. Love is waiting for us to turn, to say, help me through this. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure. I need help. And to me, that means that we're never on the wrong path. Is it a better path at times to turn to God? To me, it's always a better path to turn to God, to turn to love, to say, I want to find the solution through love. I want to find the solution through positive thoughts and positive actions and healing my negative emotions so the positive emotions can come through. And there is no right or wrong. There can be better, but better can't happen without the opportunity and without going down the road that's not better. And when we go down the road that takes us to a place that takes us farther away from love, we learn from that. And we make mistakes. We're human. And we have to make mistakes. And we listen to people's advice and they give us bad advice. And we make mistakes and we find our way back. And we listen to good advice and we decide not to take that good advice. And we go down that wrong road and eventually we find our way back. That's why we're here. We're here to have all these experiences. We're here to stub our toe, to break our leg, to twist our ankle, to get sick, to be overweight, to not eat enough and be underweight, to be malnutrition. We have a lot of different opportunities to drink too much, to not drink, to say, I'm going to ignore my emotional pain or I'm going to heal it. I'm going to find a way to dive in. And there are approximately 8 billion different ways to be on this planet. And every one of 8 billion people here all have our own unique path and our own unique challenges. And yeah, there's a lot of overlap and there's a lot of similarity. But the only way to find our way back to love is to try different ways and try different methods and see what works and see what doesn't. And a big part of finding our way back is when we realize that we've made a mistake. We realize there's a better way of doing things. Turn to love, but also know that we can forgive ourselves, that we weren't wrong for taking that path. Yes, we could have maybe made a better choice. We could have decided sooner to turn to love. We could have decided sooner to stop drugs or let go of our negative thinking or to get involved in an exercise program sooner, whatever that might be. The only way to make that right decision sometimes is to make the wrong decision first. And we don't have a choice as humans to always do everything perfectly. God wants us to make choices, and those choices mean when we don't know, we make mistakes. And when we make mistakes, it's human. It's part of the plan. It's part of the program. It's part of finding a way back. And so when we're hard on ourselves and we're not able to forgive ourselves, then it just doesn't help. We get stuck in a place of being hard on ourselves and feeling that energy of being upset with ourselves in whatever way that means. And that just brings more of the same things that make us upset. Forgiveness is probably one of the biggest challenges of being human. Communication is one of them, but I think maybe forgiveness is bigger. First, we forgive ourselves, especially once we learn more about how much we are in charge of our own life and how much we're in control, and how through changing our thoughts and changing our actions and healing our emotions can make our life better. We sometimes look at that and say, well, I could have done better, I should have done better, and we get upset with ourselves or disappointed with ourselves. And there's no reason to do that. It's just part of the program, it's part of the plan, it's part of the process of finding a way back to love. So finding a way to forgive ourselves is really powerful. I think a second step in that is finding a way to forgive God. Because when we're mad at somebody else or mad at God, then it just doesn't help. We wish things were better, we get upset, we get angry, and we want to hang on to that feeling of, I wish things were different. But like I said, they're not supposed to be different. They're just supposed to be better as we learn. And when we let go of our anger and resentment and disappointment with God and what the universe has brought us, and we can find forgiveness, that releases us from hanging on to those thoughts and those energies of wanting things to be different or wishing things were different. And wishing things were different doesn't change the past. Wishing things were different puts us in a place where we hang on to the energy, the pain, the suffering, the thoughts, the negative thoughts around all those problems. And they don't help us. When we're here in the present moment, we can find a way to let it go. So when we feel the pain and we forgive ourselves, and we find a way to forgive the universe, forgives the love and God and the source of all that is, then we can find a way to forgive the circumstances or the people who brought us this pain. And finding a way to know, to work with our mind first, to say, okay, this happened for my better good, for my growth and my learning. And this person who betrayed me, hurt me, cheated me, lied to me, did whatever they did, they were a gift to me. And they helped me grow. And they helped me find a way back to God and a different way of looking at things. And yes, it may have been painful, but in the end, I learned from it. And when we get to that place, then we can forgive that person or circumstance, whatever it was, who initiated the pain or prolonged the pain or brought us the problems. And we get that place where we forgive ourselves, we forgive Source, and we forgive the other people in our life, we can get closer to the healing that we really need. And it's an iterative process. It doesn't just happen in the same order every time. It's not like we just say, okay, I forgive myself, I forgive the other person, I forgive God, and I'm healed and everything's wonderful. It's not that simple. I wish it was. If it was, I'd have 1 billion followers right now. But it's not. First of all, it's about understanding. And it's about knowing that we never do anything that's really wrong. Yes, we do things that can hurt people. We do things that can hurt ourselves. But we also have the opportunity and the ability to say, that wasn't as good as I could have done. I forgive myself, and I'm going to find ways to improve. And I'm going to let go of that bitterness I have towards the world, that shame, regret, embarrassment I have about myself and what I did, and I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to come back to the present moment right now. I'm going to say, take a breath, and I'm here. And I know that God has given me the opportunity to go on this amazing adventure and to make mistakes and still find my way back to love, to find my way back to healing, to find my way back to joy and happiness and health and all the wonderful things that I get to experience here. We're never on the wrong path. Maybe there's a better path, and we'll find that. But being on the wrong path first before we find the better path is part of the adventure. Another question is, who can support me on this journey, on this path, on my way through all these challenges that I'm facing? Well, in some ways it's different for everybody, but I think it comes down to the people who can support us are the people who've been down a similar path and they've found a way back to love. They found a way to forgive. They found a way to heal, to feel the emotional wounds and pain and get through that and then get to a place of more love in their life. And they've experienced emotional healing in a way that the painful emotions they felt, the healing process they went through that was a challenge for them, that led them to more peace, that led them back to a place where they can release the pain, where they can understand that what they went through was worth it because now they're in a place of more peace. And they have decided to continue to embrace the challenges that they feel and to enjoy and have gratitude for the love that comes through their life. And when we let go of the challenges and we let go of the emotional pain, when we go through the healing, then that's replaced with love immediately. And we are then at a place where even if it takes some time to go through the energy of accepting and healing and adapting to the more positive things in our life, we recognize those more positive things. We recognize the changes. We recognize that it was just part of the process we had to go through. And when we do go through that healing and when we do replace the pain with love, even if it's small on some level, we recognize that in a way that says, I'm really happy to feel better now. I'm really happy. I have gratitude for the people in my life that it's brought, the better health that I have today than what I had before, the more positive outlook that I had before. So when we find somebody who's gone through a similar path and they have dealt with their demons, they've dealt with the challenges, they've dealt with the pain and the emotional healing, then they can share their story with us. When it's true, when they've really gone through those challenges and got to the other side, it's more than just a memory. It's more than just a thought. It really is, it's deep within us. When we've had that emotional healing, we've had those experiences, and we've seen the positive changes in our life. And when we talk to somebody who's truly gone through that, and they're at a better place in their life, when they share their experience, we can resonate with that because they resonate with the pain that we have. And they've been through that pain and they've seen it. And when they can truly have empathy and compassion for us, then it helps us. And anybody who's been through a similar experience, unless they're just completely trapped in ego, they'll be there to help us. How do we find these people? We ask Source, we ask love, we ask our guides to bring these people into our life. And we say, I don't know what to do, but this is really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a friend. I'm looking for a mentor. I'm looking for people who've been through this, who can relate to where I'm at and who've seen positive results from working with their emotional wounds and going through, whether it's exercises or a yoga class or hiking or whatever it might be, they found a way to have a better life. And so bringing these people into my life, I'm ready to meet new people, I'm ready to heal, and I'm ready for people who will support me. When we ask for that, the universe has no choice but to respond. The universe is waiting for us to ask. And as soon as we ask, then all the forces of the universe, all the angels, every single one of them, every molecule of the universe jumps in and says, okay, I've been waiting for you to ask, I'm ready to help you. And whether that help comes immediately through just a better feeling in our body and a relief, or whether it takes a week or a few days before somebody comes along who helps us. All those circumstances are waiting for us to ask. All those circumstances exist in a reality that we can walk into to help us, to guide us, to listen to us, to hold our hand, to give us a hug, or just listen and give us the opportunity to express to somebody what we're feeling. Sometimes that's enough. It's just for us to find someone to listen. So it's always a different person or different form who supports us on our path. And along the way, we'll find many people who support us on our path when we ask, when we say, I don't know what to do. Please help me. Please, somebody, God, help me find a person, a group who can support me. And when that support comes, it's amazing how wonderful it is, how beautiful it is for people who've been down a similar road to support us with listening, and when it's time and ready, then sharing their stories, and for them to share the hope that they have. This is what's missing in the world today, is stories of hope. People who listen, people who have compassion. They're there, but they can't be there until we ask. And when we ask for somebody to help us, as I said, it comes forward really quickly when we remember. And there's so many distractions that take us to a place of worrying, a place of focusing on the problems, a place of looking at the news and seeing what's wrong. And a part of us sometimes feels helpless, and a part of us, our ego, wants to see all the problems and say, these people are the problem and I'm right, and they're wrong and I'm right. And ego loves that. And yes, we have to have our ego to be here on the planet, but we don't have to let our ego drive our world. And when we turn to God and say, I want support, the support comes along. So, Jaylee, how am I? I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here to answer somebody's questions. Says, how are you? And what other questions do we have? I have a few more I can answer, but I really would like to see some different questions and touch on something that the audience really resonates with.
Angela just asked, was just speaking to the vibration of hope today?
Well, the hope, for me, comes back to faith. I have hope because I have faith. I have faith that when I turn to God and I say, help me, and I do the exercises to help me have more positive thoughts, and when I work through my emotional wounds, I've seen the results. And so the results I have experienced tens of thousands of times over the last 30 plus years give me the faith, and my faith gives me hope. It's really difficult for somebody to have, let me know when another question comes up, John.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to have hope when I don't have faith. Because if I look at the world around me, the people around me they're not obligated to support me. They support me when I'm supporting myself. They support me when I'm turning to love for the answer. And then everything falls into place. But if I just look to people for an answer, if I look to a situation for an answer, or I look for a silver bullet, that one thing I'm going to do that's going to make everything right, then I'm not going to find solutions, and then my faith will wane. My faith goes away when I have faith in circumstances, when I have faith in people, when I have faith in some system or some way of looking at things. When I look to a system that brings me back to love and God and being connected with my higher self, my intuitive self, that helps me be open to my child self, the part of me that's joyous and creative, and something other than just logic and reason, then I find answers. Now, logic and reason is a wonderful thing, and I think we should always make decisions based on logic and reason. And if we make decisions based on emotion or decisions based on something we think is intuition that's not, then we make bad decisions and we have bad consequences. But when we are able to slow down and listen and ask for guidance and turn to those parts of us, our higher self, our creative child self, for answers and listen, rather than just hanging on to logic and reason and trying to push our way through a problem, then we're shown solutions. Then we have answers that come to us, and that bolsters our faith, because our faith is not about circumstances or people or us even. Faith is about having the ability to connect to something larger than ourselves, bigger than ourselves, more beautiful and powerful than ourselves, and saying, I don't know the answer, and I want to work with something that's bigger than me, more loving than me, and that knows better than me. And ego doesn't always want to do that. I have that challenge myself. Sometimes I want to push through in the way that my mind wants things to be. And that's not always the best solution. And sometimes my mind has a great solution. And I am thankful for that. I have a lot of gratitude for having a great mind and being able to see when logic and reason is the answer, and to be logical and reasonable and be able to take that path when it's the best path. But when logic and reason does not show us the answer, then I turn to faith, and then I surrender, and through surrendering, I'm shown an answer. Even things like when I'm working on a computer that's not working right, I had a computer hardware issue or a software issue, and I don't know what to do. And there's a logical answer, but I don't have access to it. And I say a prayer. I say, show me the answer. And in a short period of time, some idea comes through me that may have been my logical mind, but I wasn't getting there through my logical process. And it may be based on an experience I had in the past, but usually it's just an idea that comes to me out of nowhere. And I apply that, and I find a solution, and things get better. And to me, that's guidance. That's our higher self. That's our intuitive self. And call it whatever you want. It works for me, but it works for me because of my faith and because of the experiences I have. So faith is built on experiences. Experiences based on what happens when we have faith and ask. And it's an iterative process. We go through iterations. We go through layers, like peeling an onion. But first we have to suspend our doubt. We have to have belief, and we have to ask for a solution from source that's bigger than us. And when we do that, and we have faith, even if it's just for a moment, then God finds a way to push through or allow through an answer that'll give us a solution and to help build our faith. It starts with us. So, faith and hope and love. Our ego is here to protect us. And if it doesn't understand, and if it doesn't have a partnership with our higher self, our intuitive higher self, if it doesn't have a partnership with the creative child, then it just wants to stay in control. And if we meet somebody, and I was talking earlier about finding someone who's been through the process, when intuition is new to us, when faith is new to us, when asking for guidance is new to us, when we're fortunate enough to find somebody who is a teacher or a guide or a friend who helps us, and they will come along when we ask, when we find that person, then our interaction with them can help our ego have faith in surrendering, can give our ego a reason to let down our guard. When we talk to somebody else who's been through a similar situation, they say, yeah, I didn't know what to do, and I had faith, and I asked for an answer, and the answer came through, and this is the experience I had. That maybe is the most important relationship we can have to start us down the path or help us stay on the path of looking to love for the answer, to having faith, and to building up our faith to a place we have hope. So I guess I would say that's one of the most important prayers we can start with is, show me the answer and show me a friend who can help, because they're out there. And we haven't met them yet, but they're there waiting. And so suspend your belief, suspend your doubt and have belief. Suspend doubt. And sometimes we get stuck in the mire of pity, and our ego wants to be right, and we want to see things go wrong so we can be right. And we think that just because we're right and our ego's right, we're going to find a solution. This is something maybe to talk on a lot more tonight or sometime in the future. When ego says, I'm going to be right, and it finds a way to be right and digs its heels in, it just doesn't get us closer to solutions that are lasting. It just bolsters our belief that our way is the only way and our way is the best way, and there are no other ways, and there's nothing bigger than me, and fighting the fight and being right and someone else is wrong is the answer. And I can tell you, I fought that fight for many, many years. It just doesn't work. And still sometimes when I'm upset, when I'm hurt, when somebody betrays me, my ego wants God to show them they're wrong. Well, that doesn't help me. It doesn't help them. It just is the way my ego responds, because it wants to be in a place where I believe it's going to protect me and it gets an opportunity to be in charge. And I can tell you that that's not a lasting solution. It's never a lasting solution.
There's a question there from Andrew.
Okay. So what would you say or do if someone tells you you're in your ego, when you're self-advocating, you're standing up for yourself? So when our ego digs its heels in and says, my way is right, and someone is telling me, no, I don't think so, what do we do? How can we break the cycle of our ego wanting to be right? How do we break the cycle? How do we break the cycle of our psycho-ego wanting to hang on to its way of doing things? The ego believes that if it's wrong, it's going to be attacked. So in order for us to change, in order for the ego to break the cycle, we have to be willing to say, okay, there may be another answer, I may be wrong. We have to be vulnerable. And being vulnerable is really a challenge. To me, being vulnerable is the only way we can truly get to opening our heart. But in opening our heart, the biggest challenge is that means we could have pain, we could be wrong, we let old emotions through. And our ego is designed to keep pain away from us. And that means sometimes ego will fight to keep our heart closed, because it knows it's going to be painful to let those emotions through, to be vulnerable and to let go. So in answering the question, we either have to be tricked into letting the pain come through, and into a situation where the pain comes through and we weren't expecting it, or we have to have gone through a situation or have a friend we trust who's been through a situation who helps us understand that feeling that pain is going to be a positive experience when it's all said and done. Not along the way. Along the way it hurts. But we have to either be tricked into it, or we have to be willing to surrender. Sometimes when people hit the lowest low, you talk about an alcoholic or a drug addict or any other type of addict who's let go of hanging on to their addiction, they're brought to a place where they see no other answer. And their ego is so broken that it gives up. Now, I'm not saying that we should get to a place where we're so broken we have to give up. That's not the goal. If we get there through God's grace, then so be it. But if we can find some other way to break our patterns of fighting back and saying, I'm right and you're wrong and this is what I'm going to do to feel better, it either happens through our own experiences or through a friend who is compassionate enough and patient enough to coax out of us our feelings. So somebody, this is more, I think, to somebody who's going to be providing guidance and support than it is the person stuck in ego. If a friend can listen to us and get us to talk about our challenges in a way that take us to a deeper level of pain. Why are you mad? Somebody was late and I didn't get my presentation on time and I lost the bid and I lost the job and now I'm not going to have the income and I'm going to have a hard time paying the rent and taking care of my family and my family's going to leave me. Okay, there's levels of reality that get us closer, levels of truth that get us closer to the underlying pain. So if we can help somebody who's having a challenging moment get to a deeper level of why the situation, why the irritation is really bothering them, or if we can do it for ourselves, say, okay, I'm irritated because this person's not going to be there for me. And when I sit down in front of the camera next week for videos for other podcasts and I don't have the support I'm looking for, then what if I fail? What if I've spent all this time and money and I don't get the good results? Okay, what if I am in front of these people who are counting on me to be able to deliver and they lose their faith in me? What if I am not only embarrassed, but now the people who I'm counting on to support me no longer believe in me or are willing to try and support me? Then I've wasted the time, I've wasted the money, and these people who I know can bring value to my life aren't there to believe in me anymore. What does that mean? That means I have to start over and I have to find a way to find the level of skill I need to present of what I know and believe is true. And I have to spend more money and I have to spend more time and maybe what I believe is not going to work and then I'm a failure at some level. And that failure that seems like it might be small, my ego and my wounded child self, sorry with the mic, my wounded child self says, oh my God, this is terrible. Because there's always some part of us inside that says, if I allow these small irritating circumstances to continue, it's going to lead to ultimate failure. Is that logical? No, absolutely not. But we're not completely in charge from a place of logic. We're also driven by our old emotional wounds. And our higher intuitive self knows which way to go. We can partner with that. That can help us. But at the same time, we need to partner with our child self. And we're not going to kill the child off. We can't. We want the creative child. We want the happy child to be part of our life. But there's also the wounded child. And that wounded child story is, if I don't succeed, if I don't perform, then I'm not going to survive. So back to answering the question that Angela posed is, how do I break the cycle? How do I stop and listen to this person who says that my ego's out of control? If they or myself or something can take me through the levels of pain of here's this outer irritation that's bothering me, I'm so upset about. And what's the level below that? And what's the level below that? And what's the level, the deepest level eventually I can get to with what part of that wounded child self inside of me believes I'm going to die because my parents or my tribe are going to abandon me and I can't survive. And I'm an adult, I'm capable, I can survive just fine. But that wounded child within us is a real part of us. So any way that we can get to a place of acknowledging that the wounds inside of us are bigger than what we see from the logical surface, I think those exercises, those opportunities are going to take us to a place where we can surrender and find healing. And the ego doesn't want to surrender, but there's ways to get there. Now, I don't know if I haven't given you anything specific yet, except the levels of truth, but try that. What deeper logical thing, other than the surface irritation, the results, the impact, the consequences of the surface irritation, what is the next level of consequences? So that's a problem, but then what's the next level of consequences? And as we go deeper, that's one thing that helps us. So the ego can't be turned off. We don't want to turn it off. We want it to partner. We want it to partner with our higher intuitive self. We want it to partner with our child self. And when we partner with the child self, there's a couple ways that plays out. One is simply to allow the creative, joyous, playful child to be a part of our life. And we want that. And a lot of us who are taught that we need to be strong and be smart and have discipline to make our life work, we push that part of ourselves aside. And at times it's necessary to put the child on hold and to be disciplined and to be logical and reasonable and do what we have to do to accomplish what we have to accomplish. But if we live our whole life that way, it becomes really dull, it becomes really dry, it becomes really cold. And when we don't relate to that beautiful, joyous part of ourself, which I refer to as the inner child part of ourself, then we're no fun to be around for ourselves or for other people around us. And I've spent a lot of my life turning that off because I knew I had to accomplish things, or I decided I wanted to accomplish things. And in deciding I wanted to accomplish those things around logic and reason and discipline, I missed out on a lot of joy, a lot of fun, a lot of relationships that could have been better. And the balance is never easy to find between logic and reason and our ego protecting ourselves and our intuitive self and our creative self and our joyous self and our wounded self. That's why it takes so many challenges in our life, so many experiences before we find our way to peace. And we never necessarily find our way to bliss every moment of every day. But we find learning along the way. And we find forgiveness along the way. And we find healing. And we find gratitude. And we find ways to take ourselves from a response of ego and defensiveness. And when we find those methods, those techniques, those ways that bring us back to being centered and aware of our higher God self and aware of our joyous child self and experiencing life in a way that we really enjoy and we really cherish and have more of those moments that we live for, then that builds our faith. And that helps us try additional techniques. It helps us dig deeper into our emotions. It helps us to have hope. Because without hope, there's really no reason to dig into the pain. Without hope, there's no reason to take on new risks of a new business or taking on a new job or moving to a new location, a new state. There's no hope for opening our hearts and being vulnerable to having our heart broken again. There's many people out there who've experienced heartbreak and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to open myself. I don't want to be vulnerable. I'm not willing to take a chance on love because I know it's going to hurt. And sometimes it does hurt. And a lot of times it does hurt. But when we turn to love, when we turn to God and we say, okay, I'm going to take a chance. Guide me through this in a way that I can heal, and that opening my heart and being vulnerable is worth it. Because I want the joy. I want to share the beauty that I see in life. I want to share who I am. I want to share my pain. I want to share my joy. I want to be a part of something that's bigger than me. And show me a way to have the faith. Show me a way to open my heart. And when we are willing to suspend our doubt, to suspend that protection that our ego provides and to be vulnerable and to connect with others, then we find love. Does it happen right away? No, it doesn't happen right away, and sometimes it does. But it's what we're here to do. We're here to be vulnerable. We're here to experience love through a balance of our mind, our higher self, intuitive self, our joyous child who's also hurt at times, and to open our heart and feel that there's love within us and there's love in the people around us. And when we're willing to be vulnerable and we have that hope and that faith and we're willing to be vulnerable, then we open ourselves up to the opportunity of a more joyous life, a deeper, more loving life where we share the beauty and don't just protect ourselves from the pain. There's no way to just have the love and the connection without the pain. And a part of me wants that to be different. A part of me wishes that we could have just the joy without the pain. But I can tell you the joy and the love and the peace would never satisfy us and feel as wonderful as it does without the contrast of pain. And God set the universe up this way. And sometimes the rules suck, but when we understand that taking a risk, having faith, having hope, and being vulnerable, and being open to something that's bigger and loving and will take us to a path of joy, even though it's a painful path at times. When we have that hope, then we find more peace. We find more love. We find more deep, heartfelt connection. And we find more reason to believe, and we find more reason to love, and we find more reason to dive into the pain and the healing, so more love comes through. It's an interesting cycle, and I was tricked into it, and I was guided in a way that I could never have imagined. And I'm so thankful for the way God and the universe took me down that path to take me to a place of releasing the pain and allowing in more love. And for the people in my life who believed in me and helped me because they'd been through the same, and they'd been down that path, and they could see that somewhere inside of me was a hurt child waiting to be healed and to share more of the beauty inside of me as I became more aware of the beauty that's inside of every one of us. Every one of us is a beautiful spiritual being, hidden away in a human being, in a human body, behind a human ego, just waiting to find its way out as we go through all these experiences of contrast. So there is reason to be vulnerable. There is reason to dive into the pain. There is reason to have faith. And as our faith builds, we find hope. And as we find hope, we find more wonderful things in our life. And that's the path that we're meant to be on. And that's the path that the universe supports when we turn to God in love for our support. So one last question then, unless others come up. What is the goal? What is our goal? Being here human, looking at our emotions, trying to be spiritual, going through all these processes rather than just fighting it. Excuse me. Goal is to walk through the path of all the challenges that we have being human, and to experience all the challenges and the pain and the suffering, and to find that the answer is love. The moment we turn to love for the answer, we're shown something to take us closer to peace and understanding and a better life. Maybe we're just shown just a tiny ray of light to start with. But when we look for that light and we continue to have faith and we continue to turn over to surrender our challenge to God, to love, then that ray of light becomes a beam of light, becomes a solution, becomes support, becomes healing, becomes relief. And the relief turns into belief, and the belief turns into faith, and the faith keeps us on the path. So the goal is to always turn to love in every situation, and to get to a place where we know, based on our experiences, and this takes time, but we know based on our experiences that no matter what challenge we're shown, there is a solution, there is an answer, and there's love waiting for us. And eventually we see these challenges as gifts. And when we get to that point, the challenges are no longer a problem anymore. They're just a gift. And we say, okay, this isn't really what I was looking for, but I know it's going to turn out good. And I can't say that happens to me instantly in every situation. I have situations. I had one that happened to me last week that took me days to work through, and I think I'm still working through it. So is my life perfect? Do I see every challenge as a gift immediately? No, but eventually I do. And I see more and more of my challenges in my life every day that happen. It still happen. It's part of being human. It's part of being on the planet. I see them as gifts, and so I'm not irritated. I'm not bothered. I'm not upset. I just say, okay, let's find a solution. And when I'm able to do that, the solution comes quickly. And that's the goal. The goal is not to have all of our challenges, our problems to go away. The goal is to see every irritation, every challenge, everything that is not beautiful as an opportunity to find beauty, as an opportunity to learn, as an opportunity to heal. And when we get to that place where our ego has a partnership, our mind has a partnership with our higher self and our child self, and we know, okay, this is going to work out, and it becomes a habit based on our experience, then we don't have real problems. We have irritations that are small. We have challenges that we know a solution is going to come to. And instead of our day being 80% problems, our day becomes 80% answers and solutions. And then 81%, and then 82%, and then 90%, and 95%. And I can say that my life is 99% gifts and 99% beautiful. And I want to always remember when that 1% comes up that irritates me to a wound that I haven't healed yet, where my ego wants to defend itself, then I want to remember that every challenge is an opportunity, and find a way to have gratitude for all the challenges I've been through, all the problems I've had, all the times I've been betrayed and cheated and lied to and disappointed. Now that I've been through those and healed them emotionally, I have a history, I have a database that says, okay, it looks bad, but somewhere in there's a gift and it's going to turn out good. So the goal is to get closer and closer to always turning to surrender and knowing love is the answer and knowing we're going to get through it and allowing the peace to be a larger and larger percent of our day and allowing Source to provide guidance and direction and support for us and allowing more wonderful friends and teachers to be in our life. And once we're on that path, even if it starts slowly, even if it looks like we slip backwards sometimes, a step or two or three, we never do. We never step backwards. We always get closer to love. We always get closer to solutions and being in a place of knowing that we're guided, we're supported, and no matter what challenge we face, there's an answer in love. So my wish for you is that you have the challenges that you need accompanied by the reminder, in whatever way it comes to you, that we can turn to love, we can turn to our friends, we can turn to who believe in love, we can, not our friends who believe in challenges and want to have stories about misery with us. We can turn to those who support us in a loving way, and we can turn straight to God. We can straight to Jesus, to whatever form of love that works for us, and know the answer is there. So I ask that your challenges, I pray for you that your challenges are small and the solutions come soon, that your faith grows and your hope grows, and you recognize all the beautiful things in life and what a beautiful life this is when we surrender to love. And that's my wish for you, to find a way to surrender, and that the gifts and the solutions always come. So thank you for being a part of this and for taking a moment now and then to have gratitude for the beauty and suspending your doubts and to turning to love every moment of every day and every situation. Peace be with you.